And we're back, episode 226. We're back with our super popular business-only Saturday edition, Super Saturday edition idea. People love talking about, when we talk about business so much. So we've got a couple of ripping stories today. We'll go crack straight into it. Let people get back to their Saturdays. But it was the best of times, the worst of times for the world's most overpriced car business. Who do you think I'm talking about?
Well, there's only one world's most overpriced car business.
There's
That's
only one.
Tesla.
Of course, Tesla announced last week that it sold more cars than ever before during the June quarter, but operating income collapsed by 57% to $398 million. Revenue for the quarter rose 26% to $28 billion. This is actually ahead of forecasts. However, that was largely due to reducing the price of the cars sold. GP was only up 23%, so you're seeing that reducing margin. At the same time, they also had much higher OPEX. And worryingly, this was selling and admin costs rocketed 45% to $1.9 billion. That means the income from operations, which is kind of that key number, there's a lot of other weird stuff happening with Tesla. Income from ops slumped from $923 million to $398 million for the quarter. Not great. Earnings came in at 33 cents a share. Analysts thought it was going to be at 51 cents. And net profit slipped. So this is the overall net profit. There's a bunch of interest in there. They sell credits, all that kind of stuff. That slipped to $1.1 billion US. Interestingly, Tesla's revenue, what do you reckon Tesla's revenue between 2023 and 2025 did? Meanwhile, its share price was rocketing over this period.
I think it fell.
Yeah, it fell from $96 billion in 23 to $93 billion in 25. I 100% assumed it would have increased a lot over that period, but it didn't at all. The only bright spot for Tesla, and we talked about in our last episode, self-driving, but the only bright spot Tesla was subs to its full self-driving. You'd pay $99 US a month to get access to the full self-driving. Was fantastic. That actually was up 56% year on year. And that hit, I think, 1.48 million people doing that. More than 55% of new North American deliveries include the full self-driving package. And that led to gross profit of $648 million US. Take out self-driving revenue, and the business is actually loss-making on an operational basis. Obviously, taking it out is a bit unfair because there's obviously a lot of R&D went into that. But to remind listeners that even though Tesla's share price has been smashed, it's down 30% in the last 2 months. This is still $1 trillion
it's
business.
ridiculous.
It's crazy. Even on the most generous analysis, it makes maybe a few $1 billion annually on an operating basis. That's been pretty generous, to be honest. And that's around $1 billion a year. To add more salt in the wound, one of Tesla's main growth drivers, of course, robotaxis. This is not self-driving. This is the specific robotaxis. Is not merely not growing as promised. It actually appears to be shrinking. Before launching Tesla's first robotaxi in Austin last summer, Elon Musk estimated that 1,000 of the self-driving cabs would be roaming the streets within a few months. 1 year later, and Tesla doesn't even have 100 robotaxis in operation. According to a new chart released by the company on Wednesday, the robotaxi network racked up fewer miles from paying customers in the second quarter than it did in the first.
Well, how can that be? If Waymo is so popular and growing so fast, why people don't want to take the Tesla one?
I don't know, but
it's a bit
for whatever reason,
astonishing.
According to TechCrunch, Tesla's driverless cabs carried around 1.1 million miles last quarter and then dropped to 700,000 miles in the most recent quarter.
There must be some weird explanation for that. Like the demand hasn't dropped.
Well, you think demand should be increasing.
Yeah.
And actually, unless there's got to be massive execution issues.
I agree.
They had like the people in the car a heap and all that sort of stuff. So we talk about how Tesla uses the radar stuff versus LiDAR.
Yep.
Obviously costs virtually nothing to have a Tesla with robotaxi versus, I think it's $250K or something for a Waymo. So it's clearly very different builds there. But Tesla just seems, we talked about SpaceX about a week and a half ago, and we said SpaceX is overvalued. We picked it 2.5 trillion, we dropped down to 1.7 now. Tesla seems far more overvalued than SpaceX could possibly. Tesla's making virtually no money. Well, it's worth $1 trillion. At least SpaceX has Starlink.
So we have to think about what are you buying. I mean, one lesson of this is Elon, whatever he focuses on at any point in time tends to do well. Like he's a very smart guy. And so if Tesla was going to succeed against all these Chinese competition today, it would need 100% of Elon's focus to do it, I think, because he's a very innovative guy. And like, I think Tesla's the business he cares about least right now, probably. So that's one problem. What sort of business do you think Tesla is today? Like, what do they do today?
Well, they do what they want to do.
They're a
car manufacturer.
Yeah, I agree. So today they're electric cars. What they're promising the market is tomorrow or even now, we're going to be self-driving electric cars. Okay, I think there's a decent claim that they're going to do that. You love their self-driving.
The question is what's that worth, but yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what they're going to be. And so I think that's almost certainly what they're going to be. And then they
So
have,
let's talk about just quickly pause on that for a second. So I agree. I think self-driving's tells us best opportunity.
yeah,
But Waymo, which we talked about last episode, we think is way ahead of Tesla in this. It's years ahead.
that's self-driving.
It's self-driving.
Yeah.
That's worth $126 billion.
Yeah.
So if Waymo's number one and Tesla's miles behind, and yes, it's got lots of data from this.
But Waymo is not selling cars. That's not their business.
No, but it's way ahead in the actual product itself.
Yeah. So they're way ahead in price.
But, so even if you take that, your point is right. Like maybe the Tesla self-driving upside's worth $75 billion, if I'm being generous. Like I don't think it's worth one. So it's worth $1 trillion.
Yeah.
So
no, we keep going though. And so what does Elon tell you this business is going to be?
a robot business.
Correct. A robot
Optimus
business.
Prime.
And so I think that the bet on this is as I keep saying, it's the Elon religion, which is this is the Messiah and he always delivers. And nobody believed he was going to deliver an electric car. Nobody believed he was going to deliver a rocket that lands on its end. Nobody conceived of Starlink. I don't think there was a lack of belief.
The low orbital.
The low orbital. I mean, there are a few things he hasn't delivered, like this boring company.
What's raising at $20 billion valuation? That's
I know.
Whether it's
Well, where are they?
business
There's one
there.
in Las Vegas, underneath the Las Vegas
I think it's operating,
Convention
actually.
Center. Okay, yeah. And so, that maybe, and there's a few other, and he's got this Neuralink thing, so I don't know how that's going, but that might be. And so I think this bet on Tesla is just a bet on the Messiah will deliver. And if he says he's going to deliver robots, and he explains robots are going to be the thing of the future, I think that $800 million of this valuation at least is on the Elon religion. And that is the case.
I think we agree.
It's always been the case.
We absolutely agree on this. Like, I think everybody agrees on
so
that.
there's no point talking about the valuation because you're talking about maths and it's irrelevant.
No, but what you can
So
talk
what-
about
what are you
is
gonna talk about with
eventually weighing machine voting. Elon's the ultimate weighing machine voting machine. And we talked about
He might live
WiseTech.
to 100.
We talked about WiseTech 2 years ago.
What's been weighed that Elon's been a part of ever? What's ever been weighed?
You're assuming that simply because something hasn't happened, it won't happen.
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to think about timeframes. So you agree nothing's been weighed?
SpaceX is being weighed now. SpaceX is down 40%. So there's some, it's not rational, but at least it's become somewhat more rational.
I totally disagree
Well,
that
but
SpaceX
SpaceX
is
is-
being weighed.
SpaceX is down 40%. So something has happened there.
Yeah, I tell you what's happened. It's momentum movements. Like people thought, I can just jump on the Elon religion and the only way is up because it's AI and this and everything's flying. And there's been a lot of change in sentiment. I mean, all these AI,
But the sentiment
neoclouds.
but that's my point. The point is you're saying, I agree with you, Tesla's a
but
sentiment
it's
stock.
still not being weighed.
You're saying the sentiment can never change. I'm saying the sentiment's just changed on
I'm not.
SpaceX.
I'm saying there's weighing and there's voting.
I'm not saying maybe you're not weighing on a
You're not
atomic
weighing.
scale. Maybe
You're-
I'm looking at someone's weight and say he weighs 60 kilos. But there's some sort of weighing going on. Maybe not to the 100th decimal place.
So I think it's still all voting. That's maybe where we disagree on this. Like I think there's never been any weighing on anything that Elon's done in the last 20 years. It's just all variations of voting. And right now what people are voting on is we still believe in Elon, but the momentum is kind of being sucked out. So we're going to vote less on it. I think
Tesla's down as well.
it might be 20 years till someone weighs an Elon
I think it's a
business.
lot less than that. I think we talked about Richard White like 2 years ago, and WiseTech was flying. It was $44 billion.
No one thinks Richard White is a messiah.
But they did at the time.
They didn't.
People
Thought he was
Back to the cave.
no. People thought he was like this magical businessman.
Yes.
but not the Messiah.
Maybe not Elon levels, but
I could start a
but
church to
relatively-
Elon, and I would get congregants.
But relatively speaking, Richard White was considered this god of Australia. He's worth $16 billion. I remember literally saying on the podcast at the time, saying Richard White's alleged success, like this is when he had the scandal started to. This is actually before the scandal, I think. So, and as it became what worse during the scandal. But I said the reason why people love Richard White is because he's rich. He's rich because people love Richard White. It was this circular.
I agree with that.
And it had this huge PE. The reason why we were bearish on WiseTech at the time wasn't because Richard White's scandals. They came out later. Like there was always some question marks over him, and I had insiders telling me all this stuff that I couldn't talk about on the air. But that wasn't what I was basing my valuation on. My valuation based on the fact that it made a couple $100 million and it was valued at $44 billion. That was a pretty simple metric. Eventually, the weighing machine came in and Richard White's stuff happened, and now it's a $10 billion business, and Richard White's worth $2 billion, and suddenly the guy isn't a $16 billion anymore. He's now a guy worth still a heap of money, but he's not the messiah anymore. And people go, this White thing's overpriced crap.
So now, I just want to disagree on this. So, Taylor Swift, Buddha.
But Taylor Swift's a talented
artist. One of them has a religion.
Taylor Swift's a talented artist.
I know, but Taylor Swift is hugely popular and loved, but no one thinks she's Buddha. Richard White was like a crappier version of Taylor Swift with less talent, okay?
But Taylor Swift wouldn't be happy with that comparison.
But Elon is like getting into Buddha territory, I think.
I think a lot less than he used to be. There's still a lot of Elon acolytes. Listen to All In, you hear it. But like, to me, Elon Musk is the Kardashians. He's the Kardashians of business. He's famous for being famous. He's rich for being rich. I think as soon as that gloss comes off this Elon train, and we've seen, like, there's still a long way to go.
There's more to Elon than just famous for being famous and rich for being rich.
If we go back 6 weeks.
He is a bit of a Thomas Edison of our era.
6 weeks ago.
It's a lot.
We go back 6 weeks ago when we were talking about, or even less. When I wrote the article on SpaceX 5 weeks ago, SpaceX was got hit 2.4 trillion, and Tesla was one. So this is 3.8 trillion of market value for a business we thought was worth a couple $100 billion max. That's now dropped to about 2.7. So it's dropped $1 trillion of valuation from both. $1 trillion. No, I don't think anyone's lost, maybe Microsoft recently. No, I don't think many businesses ever lost that much valuation. I'm combining them because everybody talks they're going to merge. This is a huge market correction for no real, this Tesla news, but this isn't huge news. SpaceX had zero news. This is a bit of a gloss coming off this Elon.
Maybe, but it did stretch beyond what was reasonable even for that religion.
Nothing. We're 98% overvalued here. We're so far off any kind of, to your point, rational weighing that but we're getting closer, and we are getting closer. We've taken $1 trillion off the 3.8 trillion. It's a big drop.
Who do you think is considered to be more of a messiah, Elon or Warren Buffett?
Oh, Buffett for sure.
More of a messiah?
He's much more loved.
Does his business get weighed?
Yes, it does.
That means he's not a messiah. No one is weighing and saying, hang on, let's look at this rationally. Did Moses really tap the stick and part the sea? Let's do the physics. No one's doing that.
You're talking about the marginal moron. I'm talking about eventually the marginal morons go bankrupt. We see what that always happens. The guys who invested in AMC and in pets.com, they have their moment, and if they look like geniuses for a time. The guys who invested in Bitcoin at 128,000, eventually the morons get exposed. People get seen swimming naked.
If your game is, I'm going to profit on the market weighing Elon, you should buy 20-year
saying
options and just
I'm not saying run out and short it tomorrow. Like I haven't even done that. So I'm not saying, obviously we're not giving investment advice, but you said, look at Elon, if you look at Elon's actual successes, I love my Tesla and I love Starlink, two of the most amazing products. But financially speaking,
yeah, I agree.
He has had PayPal was basically bankrupt before he merged, and but for Peter Thiel raising cash just before the crash would have gone under. So that he sold his previous business and got a decent sum for that. But Tesla almost went bankrupt a bunch of times. Still makes basically, as we talked about, basically makes no money. Yeah. It's probably realistically a $30 billion
business. He's better
business.
At product and salesmanship than making money.
I know, but businesses are valued on making money.
Well,
eventually.
You're so old-fashioned.
We're in a boom when you're saying that. So you got Tesla, no real value there. You got SpaceX, still loses a bunch of money. Starlink's an incredible product. If you isolated Starlink and had none of the other shit, then yeah, great. And I guess SpaceX, Starlink, because they're kind of one and the same. But XAI is disaster. Like maybe it makes a bit of money renting out GPUs, but that's forget that as a. So he hasn't. He's famous for being. He's the Kardashian. He's famous for being famous. He's rich for being rich. But he doesn't actually create. Warren Buffett's created trillions of dollars of wealth for people.
Yeah, I don't think
Elon hasn't done that.
I think he's not famous for being famous. He's famous for building great products and then doing incredible salesmanship, and that's what made him rich, right? But underlying it, there is still deep substance to what he's brought to the world. It just hasn't been...
But not financial.
It hasn't.
Yeah, I love
He hasn't
Teslas.
added a lot of value, financial value to the world.
He's added fake financial value because he's got this huge... still got 2.6 trillion in market cap, but... If these businesses were valued rationally, eventually there will be. Like it could be 50. We could be dead by then. I agree, but I think we won't. I think it'll happen in the next 5 years.
Have you tried the Chinese electric cars?
I've driven a BYD.
Have you? What about the Zeekas and stuff?
I much prefer driving Tesla to BYD, but I think BYD is getting better and better. And they're
What
by
about
far the bigger company.
What about the better Chinese car?
I haven't driven the Xiaomi or
Zeekr or whatever it's called.
Zeekr's, what's BYD's new good brand? They got
I know.
Danza, I think.
See BYD's sports car that they just
looks
put
cool.
out? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
But so I think,
and they're going to get, they'll be unbelievable.
You should go drive a proper, more luxurious, not luxurious, but better Chinese brand. And then you tell me if you think that's better or worse than
I drove a
Tesla.
cheap BYD, like the really cheap one. I didn't love it. It was 20 grand. So like for what you pay for, it's actually pretty good.
So ridiculous.
That was great. Jack, can we just move on? I want to talk about a business called Immutable, which I've found fascinating. I found this business fascinating for years.
A business whose name is totally disconnected from the reality.
Absolutely.
Because no one's paid any attention to them for the last 2 years. They were completely muted, right? Yeah. Like it's a complete lie, right? So...
Actually, after years of being lauded as one of Australia's greatest business success stories, the wheels feel like they're coming off this overhyped business. And this business has literally never made any sense to me at all, even during the crypto boom, and it makes even less sense now. So if you go back, Immutable was founded in 2018, and the business was purported to launch games on the blockchain. So computer games, you obviously probably know more about this stuff than me.
I've not played any of their games.
It feels like a bit of like a Roblox mixed with Kalshi, essentially. So you got the betting element of Kalshi with the Bitcoin, and you got Roblox as a platform. That's, I guess you could argue that like people love gambling, people love games. It kind of like, makes sense.
What gamers hate is monetization of in-game assets.
Yeah.
And turning them into tradable things.
Why do they hate that though?
So people don't mind if you get...
They're happy to pay for Fortnite stuff.
They are, because then they use it themselves. But what they don't like is you're taking my video game that I play for fun and turning it into a capitalist marketplace where that becomes the dominant mechanism. Don't you
Mike,
agree,
do you hate
Mike?
that? You're the big gamer here? Or
Yeah, I don't like it either.
The way that the dream sounded for video games, which I thought might be a possibility, is that you would create these in-game assets or get them through loot boxes, and then there would be a secondary marketplace where that would form like kind of a material part of the game, and it would be traded with crypto. And I think what ended up happening is people said, I'm here to play a game, not to run like the town square market.
Yeah.
And so leave us alone and don't try and get more money out of us.
Yeah. So essentially I'm not a bit of Age of Empires, but I'm not a gamer like you guys.
There's nothing you can trade.
I've never done any crypto stuff, but I think that essentially you sort of earn this crypto, and the crypto would trade in the background. Obviously, the more valuable the crypto, and I think the token was called Immutable.
Yeah.
The more valuable the Immutable token became, it got really valuable at one point. The more valuable the business was, and then we had like a rising boat. So you have more people participating. The whole point of crypto is the more people use it, i.e. Bitcoin or ETH, the more valuable they come because it becomes effectively become like.
And there's only one business that's really turned that into a great operating model, and that is
Qantas
Circle.
Loyalty?
Well, Qantas Loyalty, but Circle.
Yep, the tether business.
Yeah, and so they go and the reason that they've turned it into a great business is because they go and print stable coins in US dollar denominations, and people leave it in their accounts.
Insurance company float.
And then they don't have to, in fact, it's illegal for them to pay interest.
Well, they do give rewards. So
but it's so minimal.
I thought it's approaching the interest rate now.
I haven't checked it for a while. You might be right.
They're starting to adjust.
But that was a business. That was the only. I always say that's the only business in the world that Warren Buffett would be jealous of.
Yeah,
because they get a float for having to pay out nothing.
Yeah,
free money.
Totally. My understanding was the more people use these immutable tokens, the more valuable.
Yeah.
And the more games you have, the more valuable tokens. It becomes this. What they're trying to build is a virtuous cycle. And this is, if you go back to 2022, that was what they were claiming. The business was valued at. Do you remember what this business was worth?
It was. I think I got into the billions.
$3.5 billion. It's actually insane.
This is when NFTs, people were paying $16 million for an ape, remember? Yeah. I mean, what's happened to that?
This was worth $3.5 billion. It basically had no revenue at the time.
Yeah.
So it's, and this has managed to convince some of the world's most respected investors. And these had like Tencent, obviously. Tencent don't get all their bets right, but Tencent's one of the world's best, certainly games investors. Temasek, the Singaporean sovereign wealth fund, also a really good investor. This mob called King River Capital, get back to them in a second, and Airtree, great Australian investor. So they invested US $277 million in this 3.5. This is real money.
Yeah.
This is a huge raise. Amazingly, the business managed to raise another US $500 million from King River Capital again. And I never heard of these Have you heard of these King River guys? I'd never heard of them.
I thought I did until you said they raised $500 million from them, and then maybe I don't know who they are.
Well, that was for a JV investment fund called the Immutable Games Fund. So, like, I don't know if it was an SPV or whatnot, but So that's bizarre. Like I think they're American guys who are based in Australia now. One's an ex-Goldman Sachs guy, and there's another guy who I'll talk about in a second. The 2022 raise made Immutable Australia's fourth most valuable unicorn. Do you know who was only 3 companies bigger? Do you know what they are?
Well, Canva,
Obviously.
Airwallex.
Yep.
And Safety Culture.
No, they were close. They were 2.5, I think.
Who was bigger? I don't know.
Our good friend Bruce Buchanan
Rocked, okay.
which is well of that. Amelia Maguire, who was a great recruit to Joe Aston's Rampart, finally broke the inevitable news that for the 12 months ending June 2025, so this is going back a year, it's frustrating when companies lodge so late, they should be getting fined for this. But anyway, revenue actually fell. This is a $3.5 billion business. It fell from US $51 million to US $50 million. It lost US $37 million, which actually was an improvement on the previous year, which when it losses basically equaled its revenue. The business had told the AFR it would break even by 2025. Of course, it did not. So this is a business with basically no revenue, called US $50 million, which is effectively nothing. It's losing a bunch of money and it's worth $3.5 billion. It was worth. Immutable generated, this is where its money comes from. So $8 million from blockchain fees, $4 million from its game studio. That was down from 18. 27 million from its ecosystem. I don't know what that is exactly. And 1 million from AI marketing. Gets more than in a second. Apparently, all the 40 games, and 40 games is nothing. I can't remember. Roblox must do like thousands of games a year, but 40 games onboarded in the past month are regular games, not even crypto games. So this sounds like the world's worst imitation of Steam that's ever existed. Incidentally, it seems Immutable is also giving up on this blockchain clusterfuck and pivoting being some sort of AI marketing tool, which I'm sure will go real well. Incredibly, the AFR's young, richly valued Immutable founders, brothers Robbie and James Ferguson, at $1.7 billion only 9 months ago. So I don't know what they're doing down at the AFR. Friend of the pod, John Stensholt, wasn't quite as easily duped. He took him off the list last year, which was big news. That said, as I pointed out to John, he did have him worth $2.2 billion the year before. So even the great John Stensholt gets it wrong
if
sometimes.
they're raising rounds,
I presume they had John on the private jet, which probably softened them up a bit.
If they're raising rounds, that 500 mil sounds like it was to put into to support, closing the loop. So we'll raise 500 mil. We'll invest that in businesses that build games for our platform that buy crypto. A worse version of Nvidia. Yeah, basically.
Jensen would be turning his grave if he heard you say that.
I mean, I know people. I don't think Jensen's dead. What are you doing, Jensen?
Turning his leather jacket.
But I know people involved with this business.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
as investors.
Yeah, and also as people in and around the business.
I spoke to an exec there once who actually is a really impressive executive I've known from previous jobs.
One person made me feel like maybe the hubris in that place was quite high at the peak of it.
Yeah.
But
we get 3.5 bill val, that's understandable.
Yeah, but I think if you got a 3.5 bill val based on this kind of stuff, I think your overwhelming emotion would probably be panic.
I would never ask for a 3.5.
I know, but let's say you got it, okay?
Assumption, it's inconceivable.
But you're overwhelmed. We can even don't say that big number. If you got a valuation that was based on, we promise we're going to build this tomorrow, you would have no hubris. You would just have stress and panic about how am I going to build this tomorrow? Yeah. I think that's the difference, right? I think that when you get a valuation that's really high and you don't deserve it, like hubris is the wrong emotion. Totally. Panic is the right emotion.
Yeah, totally. While the business has been a cash furnace for basically its entire life and its core business appears pretty much dead, it hasn't lost all its supporters. King River Capital co-founder and Immutable's, of course, main funder, a guy called Zebediah Rice. Do you know Zebediah?
No. It's a good name, though.
Great name. That it's unlikely to be updating the $3.5 billion valuation. I think Zebediah needs to do some work on his valuing. He said the comp still makes sense. I'm not sure he's comping to maybe like SpaceX or something, but it doesn't make much sense. Immutable's token, which is where the 2022 valuation came from, that's down a lazy 99%. Yeah. So the reason why I was so skeptical in this business is I see the token dropping like every day. Yeah. Yet the AFR richly was valuing these guys at billions. Yeah. It made this whole business is valued on this token. It was FTX. It was valued on the token. Yeah. As soon as the token dropped, this business had no inherent. The whole fake network effect fell apart.
But do you think this is worth zero?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was losing $37 million a year. Actually, it's got some cash in fairness because I'm not sure what happened to the games fund business. And it raised to that 277 million US. So that's 400 million Aussie. Even if it's losing 60 a year, it will still have a couple $100 million of that left.
So you think it's worth a bit less than cash.
Yeah, the closed down cost of the cash.
The closed down cost of the cash, yeah.
Well, am I wrong? Like,
I don't know. I haven't looked at this closely for a lot. I mean, I looked at it a bit closely a long time ago in the NFT craze era.
Do you ever? What were your thoughts? Because it was before we did the show, the NFT craze. I was obviously a skeptic of it, but did you?
I would say, I was an extreme skeptic of it. I just could never understand where people saw the inherent value in it, as I felt about Bitcoin for a long time. But again, like I've been wrong about that for a long time. I think
Bitcoin's much less bad than NFTs.
All right, but I felt like there's no inherent value in Bitcoin. And then people make the gold argument, which I understand
digital gold,
But I just felt like...
Well, the problem we have with the digital gold argument is with the volatility of it, and gold was nothing like that volatility. Although, that said, it's kind of reversed in recent years.
I think there are other challenges. Like everyone understands what gold is. That's one thing. 5,000 years of history, maybe 10. That's another handy thing.
You touch it.
Yeah, because like you've had 5,000 years
the most stable,
plus years
the most stable
to
element.
build a myth.
Yeah.
Basically, gold is a myth.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is a myth. And you just had to have had much longer to build the gold myth. And so, look, I don't want to predict what's going to happen to Bitcoin, but I never understood. What I certainly understood is this is no currency. This is an asset.
The Bitcoin myth is a much better myth than the immutable myth.
I didn't really understand the immutable myth. Like, what I don't understand is this. Largely what happens with these, shit coins, let's call them, which is what
I love the name shit coin.
What this is, right, really, is it seems like someone puts out a coin and they say, if it's a good version of this, they say this is what it's used for.
Yeah.
If it's a bad version, it's used for nothing.
Yeah.
And then they hold a lot of them and then they jack the price up.
Yeah.
And then they go and dump the ones that they hold in the market before it crashes. And so Immutable is not that. Like they actually did try to build a business around this stuff. So it wasn't the worst version of an NFT. It was
a dumb idea, but it was
well, it wasn't the worst version of crypto, which is that. It was an NFT linked to an actual business. It just wasn't a very good idea in retrospect.
Yeah. Nothing about it ever made sense. Which is fine. Lots of businesses don't make sense. If they raised $5 million at a 50 million value, you go, whatever, this happens.
Yeah.
The 3.5 billion from the likes of Tencent and Airtree, and this is Temasek, these aren't like fools. These are smart people. Like this is just, I'm not sure about this King River guys. They say maybe not so much, but certainly the other three, these are some of the best investors in the world. How does this business get a $3.5 billion valuation?
Yeah, well, because there's, how does that whole AI industry have their valuations?
Yeah.
You know how this works. Basically.
And how has no one criticised this thing till this week?
Well, because no one cares about it.
3.5 billion, the fourth most highly valued startup.
No one cares. No one cares about it. That's why. So people don't pay attention to it because this is an artifact from the last hype cycle.
Yeah.
No one cares about artifacts from the last hype cycle. It's just not how it works, right? I think the way to think about these NFTs in games is think about it like this. Minecraft, the game that everybody knows, the platform that is the largest platform, if they introduce...
Minecraft bigger than Fortnite?
Minecraft bigger than Fortnite,
Microsoft owns it, right?
Yeah. If they introduced a Minecraft NFT, can you imagine...
A coin? You mean a coin?
Yeah, if they introduced a Minecraft coin, Can you imagine, Mike, like you are on Minecraft, presumably from time to time, or never?
Never played.
I
Really?
probably step in more to that role.
Oh, Joel, how would you feel about a Minecraft token being launched inside the game?
Terrible. People already try and do it with their own servers, but Minecraft has banned that. Like you can't,
really?
You can't make people pay
People
for stuff
hate
that
it.
give you an advantage
I'm
over
surprised
other
they...
players.
You would hear the yelling from this office. There would
Where's
be a
Joel? He's in the
global there would be a global uprising if you tried to bring a token into Minecraft.
Really?
Yes.
Yep.
What if you can make money from it?
What?
People love gambling on crypto. Like as dumb as this business
People
was,
don't want their
there is some sensibility around.
Well, then, a casino. Have you heard of a casino?
Yeah.
They're quite popular.
30-year-olds can't go to casinos. This is a great way to go to a casino without going to a casino.
Well, number one, that's not true.
30-year-olds can't go to a casino.
They have crypto casino.
Oh, okay. Online, yeah.
They certainly
You
can.
need a credit card, which isn't that easy to get.
Unfortunately, we live in a world where everything is vulnerable.
Yep.
As it always has been, but now, young people are better at knowing vulnerabilities.
Okay. But I would have thought that many 15-year-olds have credit cards or 30-year-olds have credit cards.
But the thing is this. I tell you what 15-year-olds can bet on. By the way, I don't advocate any of this stuff.
Yeah.
But they can certainly bet on sports betting. There's a million ways to get around that, which we won't go into.
Yeah.
And so I think people that want to do gaming, they want to do gaming.
Yeah.
and people that want to do gambling,
that makes sense.
ironically also called gaming, they want to do gambling.
Yeah.
And I think that there's quite a sharp line between those two endeavors.
Clearly, you're right, and the token's down. This business is functionally dead, and it never took off in the first place. But it's what I still don't get is how it got the valuation it got. Like I can understand a $50 million, $100 million valuation, but there's how many startups has happened in Australia? Like 1 million? Like I don't know. This is the fourth best ever. This thing.
You don't know what the number was before the 51 mil of revenue. What if it was 15? And so then what you've got is a business riding the wave of the hottest. It was AI before AI, NFTs. And so it was riding the hottest thing in town.
Well, this is more crypto, not NFT specifically.
Okay, so crypto. Yeah, you're right. I keep saying NFTs, but I really mean crypto.
Yeah.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I shouldn't say that. And so so this is riding the hottest game in town, tripling its revenue, let's say, and hitting 50 mil, and it's going out to market and saying...
But no profit, obviously. It was losing a heap of money at the time. As long as if this is profit...
Are you new to this world? Is this your first time? Like, this got its valuation of zero revenue, didn't it? Let alone profit at the beginning.
I actually don't know what it was doing in 2020. No, it would have had some revenue, I reckon. It was founded in 2018 and it raised in 4 years after it founded.
probably.
So it must have had some profit.
So I just want to say, like, this is not a business. Like, we talk about a lot of businesses on this podcast, and then we talk about some things that masquerade as businesses, but they're actually not businesses.
Yeah.
And this is in fact, the closest thing to gambling in the Immutable story was the investment in Immutable. This was people saying, I think this might go to the moon. Like Adir probably said, wow, this has got a huge wave. We don't know if this wave is going to be real or not. It's very hard to predict, but we're going to bet on this because if it is, we'll get 100 times our money back. And it didn't. And so I think that's the whole story of this thing, and it turned out it's not a business.
I get the bet. Don't get me wrong. I get the bet. What I still don't get is the val. The val just is nonsensical.
Yeah, but the val's preference shares.
Yeah.
And so I go and I put 250 million. Maybe what they said is, we don't know the terms.
Yeah.
So if someone came to you and said, I mean, you wouldn't put 250 million to this because it's too risky, 250 mil. Let's remember, people that run VC funds are under pressure to deploy capital as well. So they have to deploy.
But Temasek isn't under pressure.
That's true. But they're under...
And Tencent is under pressure.
Well, Temasek's got their own agency costs, which is, if pass them by... going to be tough for that person to keep their job.
This is Singaporean government.
I guess.
But they're being hugely risk on.
No, that's true. That's true. But like, if you look at this was a lot of money, but let's say it was a raise of 100 mil at a $3 billion valuation. And let's say everyone put in 10 or 20 predominantly. So that wouldn't be much out of any VC.
But it was 400 Aussie.
I know. So maybe this is more unusual, and maybe they need the river, whatever they call
King River.
King River to cornerstone it, right? But I think when you see bets of 10 or 20 mil at big valuations and you don't know the terms, there's preference shares. No one's betting their whole fund on it. People are under pressure to deploy. Nobody wants to miss the 100 bagger. Funds live and die based on whether they get a 10 to 100x investment, let alone 1,000x. And I think once you understand that, you understand where these valuations come from. The thing here is no matter what preference shares you have here, when this thing is liquidated, you ain't getting your money back. So that's the truth about this, right? What's the chances they prove us wrong? Can't be zero. They got 50 mil of revenue.
Well, they got 50 million US of revenue, but losing 37 million.
Well,
so that revenue is like, I'd rather not have that revenue if it's costing me almost, if I'm selling a dollar for,
it's hard to know.
If I'm selling a dollar for 62 cents or whatever these guys are selling it for, it's not a great business.
Well, you don't know what their $90 million is going on. Because a chunk of that could be right down of the value of their own coin. And maybe they're not cash negative.
I doubt.
We don't know. If you own a lot,
because they're a year behind on their buddy.
Yeah, that's true. But if your game is a lot of our value comes from owning our own coin, and that coin's falling, you're marking it down, right? That's hitting your profit and loss statement.
If they are, who knows?
Well, they have to be. That's one of their key parts of their business.
I think these guys have proven themselves to be some sort of interesting players.
What if they were break even on the 50 mil? How would you feel about that?
Well, they're shrinking.
Yeah,
so
not great news.
So it's worth the cash balance plus maybe 20 mil.
Right. Okay. So you think the chances of this being worth $1 billion?
Oh, zero.
Literally zero?
Zero. Literally
zero.
Well,
okay.
If you were like writing a put option or call, like maybe give like the 0.01. Like there's always some but effectively zero. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I can't see. I mean, we don't know a lot about the ins and outs of this business operation, but like there are very few businesses that stall their revenue at this level and recover, but not zero. But I think the bigger problem.
Well, they've done a full pivot. They're now building this AI marketing tool.
Yeah, that might be their biggest mistake.
As if they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, that might be their biggest mistake. Like
these people, they had this one business which they weren't qualified to do, and it's basically destroyed a bunch of value. They're like, well, I haven't been able to do this right, so I'm going to try and do something else that, like, I'm competing against what Anthropic on.
Yeah, I think the number of businesses that have succeeded after a complete pivot, you can probably count on one hand. One is Twitter, right?
Lots of great businesses pivot, but they generally have great founders, and this is not I don't think this is a pivotable business. They just happen to have cash that was given to them from
a dead business that survives on a true pivot is tiny number that do that. Yeah. Like Twitter did that, but even the one that we spoke
from
about,
the podcasting to Twitter.
Yeah, to invent Twitter as
from audio to Twitter.
And they were almost out of money, and they
actually a lot of businesses do that, but that's
not full pivots. Like even the one we talked about a few weeks ago, which is bending spoons.
Yep.
That's not a full pivot.
Yeah.
That's realizing there's a better way to make money in this world.
Yeah.
It's not a full pivot.
Yeah.
There's a full pivot. Yeah. It's very hard to pull that off.
We'll obviously watch this company with interest. If the King River Capital guys want to come on and explain why we're wrong, we'd love to have them, of course.
I mean, we would be happy to be wrong.
Yeah. I think I'm seeing Craig from Airtree soon, so I'm not sure if he was the partner on this or not, probably not, but I'll ask him if he can give some views.
I suspect the words, "I'm certainly not coming on your show to talk about Immutable," might come out of his mouth.
And a few other choice words. I suspect Craig's a very, very nice guy when we say that. Thank you for listening. This has been a great Saturday episode, as always. We'll be back on Tuesday with our longer episode. Thank you, Mike and Joel. Thank you, Adir, for jumping on, as always. We'll be back soon.